Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sales Server. I'm Ray Williams, and today I'd love to discuss one of the aspects of sales that really is foundational to the sales professional job, and that is prospecting. Most folks think of prospecting as old, antiquated, something to be avoided at all costs, and really kind of show up a little like Stinky Pete, right? No one likes it. However, what we can do through a couple very easy skill upgrades on your end is to treat it more like selling Sam. All right, so let's get right into it, guys. Look, with prospecting, the grind is real. A lot of folks realize that when they pick up that phone call, they're going to get rejected. And nobody likes to be rejected, right? It's also a lot of work. You have a lot of smiling and dialing and preparation and everything. And a lot of times you walk away at the end of the day after spending hours of dialing and seem to get nowhere. So the grind is real. I understand a lot of folks feel this way, and it is an uphill battle. And that's why we look at it as Stinky Pete, right? Prospecting. But that's okay, because here in a minute, we're going to talk about some ways to sell like Sam instead. And the first thing that I'd like to share with you all, and one of the most important things, is you have to be human. You have to be yourself, and you have to have fun doing it. Making cold calls to companies or to people to introduce your product or yourself is an opportunity. It's something you get to do as a sales professional. It's not a grind. It's not a job or a chore. It's part of the success. Every plant starts as a seed, and that first seed for you is that first point of contact, whether it's phone call, email, voicemail, text message, whatever it is, but every call is an opportunity. But to get to that point, to really be human and be in the moment and have fun on these calls, it's very, very important that you are prepared. And if you ever played sports, this is not my terminology, but one that I've heard over and over again from coaches, and I love it. But the 5 Ps, proper preparation prevents poor performance. We have got to be prepared. Yes. So how do we get there? What are the steps to take to be prepared before you even make that call? The first thing you need to do is make a list. Who are you going after? Who at what company, in what vertical or industry, with what problem, and the solution that you have to offer? What is the answer to all of those questions, right? So you have to have a list. You need to be targeted on who you're calling, why, when, how, for what, right? So now that we have our list made, we also need a script. Now, this is a hot topic for a lot of folks in sales where I don't want to be a robot, beep, beep, boop, because I'm reading off the script. A script is not something that you are to read verbatim. It is more of a flow chart. Every phone call that you make has a starting and an ending. And the goal of those endings is to schedule a meeting with a qualified prospect. And your script or your flow chart is designed to help get you there and control the conversation. So that way, you know what you're talking about and you're prepared for objections and you can get to where you want to go without putting the prospect on edge on the other side. We'll talk more about scripts in a follow-up video here, but you also need to set a target. When you show up to make phone calls or do outbound, how many are you doing? Some of the goals that I've done in my past are maybe setting a time limit. From now until the next 30 minutes, I'm going to do nothing but outbound dials. Some folks will make it a metric of how many calls am I going to make? I'm not going to get up until I make 50 calls. Some folks like to do more results-based. I'm not going to get up until I have 5 meetings set. There's a lot of different ways you can set this up, but the key takeaway here is have a target and keep track of your metrics. When we go back to a video before, we talked about the science of selling. Well, there is a scientific aspect of knowing how much goes in to how much comes out, and you need to capture that data. One of the overlooked things is when you get these 3 things finished and you're ready to actually sit down and do the work, you got to set the mood. I love music. I'm sure you do as well. Put on the right music in the background, not too loud, not too soft, to get that energy flowing. Make sure your water's full. If you are anything like me and you have to fidget with something in your hands, grab your fidget spinner, grab that squish ball, so that way you can stay focused. Use the facility so you don't have to get up until you're done with your block. The other thing that I like to do is Minimize and exit out of anything that is not leaning towards making these calls. Close your email, close everything else, right? And lastly, you got to get started. Pick up that first phone call and make it happen, and then just keep going. Now that you've got someone on the phone, well, how do you win? How do you show up when you do get someone to answer? Because we just did a lot of work, right? Well, the very first thing that I'm going to tell you to do is you have to establish credibility. Imagine this. You get a phone call from someone, a number that you don't recognize, there's no caller ID. What are the questions that you have circling in your head? Who is this? Why are they calling me? What do they want? So disarm those objections right away. Again, we're not going to dive into the specifics of script writing today. That'll be on the next call, the next video here, but you need to show up with who you are, why you're calling, where you're from, and what you're looking to accomplish right away to get past those simple objections. Establish that credibility up front. Every interaction that you have with this person on the other side of the phone, you need to continue to convey that transparency with them. Most folks buy from people they like, trust, and believe. It has nothing to do with the product. And the people that I like, trust, and believe the most are the ones who have been authentic and transparent with me since day one. And some of the best ways to build that trust with someone on the other side that you literally just started speaking to for the first time ever is not knowing everything, not being as polished as you would expect. So every time you have an opportunity to convey transparency and be true to who you are, that's going to build that rapport way more than what you actually say. And remember, everything you're doing is to close for that meeting. Yes, when we start dissecting the script here, we will talk about how to make sure that that meeting, that you're closing for the right meetings with the right people. But keep in mind, these calls, you're winning every 10 seconds you keep the other person on the phone. And the ultimate goal is to get more of their time in a meeting. Last and certainly not least, probably most important, to continue to build off of these three selling Sam tips is you have to be everywhere. Phone, voicemail, text, ringing, LinkedIn, messages, email, website. You need to be all over the place. So if that person doesn't answer, they get a voicemail, they get a text, they see you on LinkedIn. This individual that you're calling should know who you are and what you're about before you even make contact. So we'll dissect even more of how to do that as well. The last tip and the most important takeaway here that I should leave you with when it comes to prospecting is consistency is key. Just like a prospector with that pickaxe knocking away at the rocks, you're never going to find gold if you go one day and work for 2 hours. You have to put blocks in place where you're spending 1 hour on cold calls, 1 hour on email, 1 hour on social every single day, because eventually you will be opening this treasure chest of opportunities. And by the way, it is money and it is paying you, and this is your job. So I hope you guys like this content. There's more of this coming soon. The next video, I'd love to discuss the actual art of script writing and continue this prospecting 101 block. But if you have any other suggestions or comments or anything you'd like to add to the content that I'm sharing, please do so. Like, follow, and subscribe. And thank you so much for all the love. Keep it coming. Happy selling.